Some of the most important things, you want to make sure you have your birth certificate. You want to make sure you have, if you've been married, your marriage certificate. You want to make sure if you've had any military service that you have your discharge papers. That's huge. Helping my dad as he ages to find his veterans benefits. That's really important. You want to make sure you have your Social Security card and number. You want to make sure you have important baptismal records if you were baptized in a church, because that may facilitate marriage certificates and things like that. You want to make sure you have copies of your mortgage, your car titles, life insurance. You want to make sure you always know where your retirement statements are. A lot of people change jobs and they leave what we'll call sort of orphaned 401ks behind, and they may move and they may forget to tell their former employer. You want to keep copies of all that type of stuff. Really, really important.
Welcome to the Rich, Fit, and Happy podcast. I'm Crystal O'Connor, where we want to take you from drab to fab in this beautiful life. Let's go. Hello. Welcome to Rich, Fit, and Happy podcast. I'm Crystal O'Connor, your host, and I am interviewing someone today to talk about money. I like to talk about money because money equals freedom. It has in my life. It's why I did what I did starting Moxie Entrepreneur years ago, teach small business owners, but which led to teaching a lot of women how to create income streams online and how to build a database, all of that fun stuff. It leads to freedom, and then it leads to happy. Here's why: because you get to spend more time doing what you love. Okay, so I brought on an expert in the wealth management world. Her name is Paula Harris. Say hello, Paula.
Hello, Crystal. So glad to be here.
It's good to have you. And she is a co-founder of WH Cornerstone Investments. You're assisting women in life planning and a lot of things, but in financial planning, which is really important. And it sounds like you really focus on helping women that are at a certain stage in life where they are midlife, but also have lost a loved one, and they've not really managed money before. And that's a scary time for women, right?
Absolutely.
You also are certified in the Jack Canfield program. Is that right?
That is correct.
So I want to dig in and learn all about that, because that's really interesting. And listen up, audience, because this can be life-changing. It really can. One thing I want to ask you about is, what is your opinion on changing the mindset around money?
Well, I'm glad you started with mindset, because everything in life is about mindset. And so I think a lot of us have scripts that we sort of adopted as children that we don't even realize we have. And some of them have served us well, but sometimes we need to let go of those money scripts so that we can move forward into our own abundance and mindset. Probably we've heard things like, your dad driving a car and he sees somebody in a nicer car and he goes, oh, those people are uppity that drive that car. So you immediately say to yourself, oh, I should never drive a nice car. So you have to be real careful as what you've adopted in life and how you maybe need to let those go. And I think having the right mindset around money is important. And when I meet people that say, oh, I have no money, I can't attract money, it's like, well, you never will, because you're not putting out the intention to have abundance and to have money just flowing through you and enjoying that abundance feel. So it's everything.
Did you have money mindsets that you had early on in life that had to be changed?
Yes, I have. I will say I grew up, my dad was the youngest of 9. So he was 27 years younger than his oldest sibling. And so I would say he was definitely more of, I would call, exposed to the depression kind of mentality. So a lot of get a good steady job, don't spend too much, recycle, reuse. And some of those things have served me well, but I can also hold me back in attracting abundance and spending money where it can help ease my life. So over the last few years, I've been working on that. I'm working with a coach right now, even on positive intelligence and sort of letting go of saboteurs that sort of get in your way of moving forward. It's so important to let go of those restrictions that don't allow abundance to flow in our lives. And I actually did a Tony Robbins program years ago. And one of the things I set as a goal was I want to fly first class. And I would say within, I don't know if it was 4 or 5 months, I took my first class flight. And I remember taking a picture of the menu and posting it online to my Tony Robbins group, like, achieved. I
finally did it. And so what was preventing you before? Was it just the feeling of spending that extra money when you shouldn't? Or was it that you didn't feel worthy to be in a certain class? What was it? What do you think it was?
It was more spending the extra money. Like the same plane is going to get me there. So what does it matter what seat?
Yeah.
And then when you have, experienced a little bit more comfort and you're like, this is actually, it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So you have to pick and choose sort of, sometimes it won't bring me value, sometimes it will bring me value. And so I won't do it all the time, but I will do it from time to time.
I've met some interesting people in first class, so that's pretty smart. I mean, I can see how it could lend itself to you attracting a certain client because you're in the seat next to someone and having a conversation, very likely anyway. Well, nowadays it's a little different because people want to put in their little earbuds instead of talk to people.
That's true.
But it's still, it opens up the conversation to a different type of person, I think.
And I sat next to a fourth generation business owner last week on a flight back from Las Vegas. And I mean, it was the most fascinating conversation. And it was a name brand product that you and I both probably have bought. I've bought it for sure. And when she mentioned, I said, oh, I'd buy that. And she goes, I'm Liz on the back of the box, type of thing. And I was like,
oh, cool. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So I want to ask about the Jack Canfield program. And did you do that before or after you co-founded WC Investments?
Yep. So way after the WH Cornerstone. WH Cornerstone was founded in the late 90s. So I did a regular Canfield program, Breakthrough to Success, in 2018. And then in 2019, I decided to become, because of the Train the Trainer program. And I joined that program to sort of learn all the success principles and how to bring those to the world. And it's a really key thing to help bring to our clients. And I just have a passion of helping people live their best life. Yeah. And that was a really great program to do.
Okay. So this is something that I just recently, within the last couple of years anyway, started putting together more thoughtfully, and that is important documents. And so I'm going to ask you, what important documents should we all have, but especially women, that keeps things in check so that it makes it easier for our family to organize better?
It's interesting. We have on our website a download of 28 important documents that you should have. Ooh. And I didn't actually review it before this, but some of the most important things, you want to make sure you have your birth certificate. You want to make sure you have, if you've been married, your marriage certificate. You want to make sure if you've had any military service that you have your discharge papers. That's huge. Helping my dad as he ages to find his veterans benefits. That's really important. You want to make sure you have your Social Security card and number. You want to make sure you have important baptismal records if you were baptized in a church, because that may facilitate, marriage certificates and things like that. You want to make sure you have copies of, your mortgage, your car titles, life insurance. You want to make sure you always know where your retirement statements are. A lot of people change jobs and they leave what we'll call sort of orphaned 401ks behind. And they may move and they may forget to tell their former employer. You want to keep copies of all that type of stuff. Really, really important. And making sure, this is a little bit more online, but logging into mysocialsecurity.gov and creating your Social Security profile so that that you're tracking the quarters that you've worked, that the amount of money you've made is correct, because you don't want to have to try to correct something like that 20 years later.
Okay.
That's a key one.
Okay. What about taxes? Is there anything that we should know about taxes?
So you want to make sure you save your taxes for 7 years. I know personally, we've gotten to the point where we scan them to save them, which makes a big difference. We personally save them longer than 7 years, but the rule is 7 years and you're good. If there's any sort of question, let's say maybe you're married, maybe you think you might be facing a divorce, those tax records are so big, so important, because you have to be reporting all along what you have for assets. And so sometimes as people if they were widowed, it's a roadmap to go back to find out where things were for someone who maybe wasn't as involved. So they're a very key document.
Okay. So tell me this. So I know there are probably a lot of retirement tips and hacks that you have that you could share with us. Why don't you focus on a certain age group, say a woman in her 50s? What are some tips or hacks that you could give us for building wealth?
Sure. I think once you hit 50, you can take advantage of catch-up contributions. So that's one of the beauties of turning 50. You get to save more money, through your 401k, your 403b, your IRA. It's called a catch-up contribution. So you want to make sure you're maxing out your retirement funds, because anybody who's a higher earner, you just can't save enough in a retirement plan. So you want to make sure you max that out. And even if you're still an aspiring earner, you want to make sure you're maxing that out and taking advantage. You want to make sure you take advantage of the Roth IRA or the Roth contribution in a 401k, because as much as it's important to participate in the 401ks, the 403bs, it is often going in pre-tax. You're going to have to pay the tax coming out if you're in a traditional plan. If you put it into the Roth through an employer, which is so much easier, and for anyone who's a high earner, you're precluded from being able to be in a Roth IRA. So this is a wonderful way to get money into a Roth throughout your working career. So you want to make sure you're getting as much money as you can into the Roth portion, because when it comes to retirement time, you can either have a pool of money where you owe Uncle Sam a third, or you can have a pool of money where it's been taxes already paid, it's grown tax-free, and it comes out tax-free. I want my money there. That's a big deal. So the other thing you can do is you can do Roth conversions along the way. Now, a lot of CPAs will advise you maybe not to do that, because the CPAs tend to look backwards, and where financial advisors and planners, we tend to look forward. And we're taking the bet right now that taxes are at an all-time low, that given how much government spending there's been, taxes are probably only going to get higher. So if you do a conversion today, you're going to take a tax hit, but you should benefit in the long run on the backside of having more tax-free money. So that's a really big tip. The other thing for a 50-year-old, if you're married, stay married. Gray divorce is one of the ways that you can really wreck your financial plan. I mean, I'm not suggesting anyone stay in an abusive relationship, but divorce is very, very expensive. So if you can stay in a marriage, you're going to keep those assets together rather than trying to divide them. And if you're dividing assets in your 50s, and depending if you were a stay-at-home mom or you were working, you will not have as much assets in your name. And that's going to be challenging. And that's a tough way to be. I think, and the other thing I'll say is really building wealth is all about what's coming in and what's going out. It's all about your cash flow. Our society rewards immediate gratification.
Right.
It is all about buy now. Think about how many clicks Amazon, how easy it is to order things. Buy now, buy now. Billboards get you to if you lived here now, oh, look at this great couple. They look like they're just enjoying life because they live in this one place. Oh my gosh, that meal is going to change your life. That bottle of wine is going to be amazing. If you can just stay away from that impulse to just spend, and make sure that you're really saving during these years, it's everything, because you're in your prime earning years, typically in your 50s. So you want to make sure you're maximizing your savings and not overspending.
Okay. You mentioned a couple of times a high earner. If you're in a high earner, what is a high earner to you? You're talking about taxes.
Yeah, I'm going to say a high earner, probably, a household that's earning more than, 250,000, even 200,000, I would say would be in that category.
Okay. So that was about 5 different tips. That's good. Okay. So is the Jack Canfield program centered more about mindset?
Yeah, I would say it's mindset. Jack's first principle is you're responsible, you're 100% responsible for your life. And when you adopt that principle, some people will say everything that happens to you is when you see life as a gift rather than a victim, you change your mindset totally. And when you say I'm 100% responsible for my actions, my decisions, my belief, you start to shift your mindset. So again, the government isn't doing something to you. I'm getting hammered by the man. This person did this, that person did that. It's like, no, I chose to respond negatively in that situation. So when you start to realize that's like the base principle, everything else kind of builds upon that. And you start to take control of your life in a different way rather than life. Yeah, it's very empowering.
So you go from victim to
empowered.
Yeah.
To victor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. So what do you feel like right now with everything that's happening? Because I'm going to interview someone later today about cryptocurrency. What is your take on what you see happening and the shift that's taking place? It's pretty scary, and I think it's volatile, and I think the unknown is going to become more unknown the more we dip into it. Don't you think so?
I think absolutely. And I see, as humans, we are addicted to shiny objects. And I put crypto in that category, shiny object. And I feel like there's a lot of people dabbling in things that they don't understand.
Mhm.
And I think that's risky. I had a high school student helping me do some landscaping, and he bought stocks at the age of 16 based on like, I thought, this sounded like a good idea. He goes, I lost all my money on both stocks. So I think people have to be very careful that they do their own research. One of the biggest things is groupthink. So like you and I talking, like, I gotta do it, you gotta do it. Like we get ourselves so worked up. So I think we have to like block out the noise. One of the things I talk about all the time is stop watching television and don't watch the news.
Oh
It
yeah,
just,
I totally agree, 100%. Yep.
I never heard it this way until recently, but they call it TV programming for a reason.
Yeah.
They're programming you to think a certain way. So, the media has a very strong influence. And like, if they keep repeating stories on something like crypto, I got to have it. And a couple of years ago, we had two people, very conservative. One woman said to me, she was like 65, and she said, I keep hearing about crypto. Should I have some? I just got a cell phone last year. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, no, if you just got a cell phone last year, you're obviously not a forward, you're kind of countercultural. You do not want to be exposed to this.
It'll be overwhelming. And yeah. I think the thing that comes to mind first with that scenario is that she could easily be taken advantage of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the number of scams that are happening, like people have to be so careful. Scamming is just.
I was watching something on, I can't remember if it was Hulu or Netflix. I very rarely watch it all the way through because I don't want to take the time to do it, but it caught my eye because it said trafficked. So I thought, what kind of trafficked is it? So it got my attention and curiosity. It was a documentary, and I do like documentaries. And it was about, what country is that tends to scam us in a certain way by telling us that we've won lotteries through email?
It's somewhere in Africa, I think.
Haiti. Was it Haiti?
Haiti, okay.
Okay. But yeah, so a gal went over there to dig further and interview some people, and it was very enlightening. And one of the things that was said by them about Americans is that we're easily deceived and we're lonely. The term lonely came to mind, which made me go, okay, so they see lonely as stupid. We make stupid decisions when we're lonely. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I would maybe say even, or vulnerable.
Well, yeah.
We're very vulnerable.
Yeah. So loneliness and vulnerability, loneliness leads to vulnerability. And that is, it's in almost all areas of being taken advantage of is vulnerability and loneliness and just being alone. I always tell my daughters, there's safety in numbers. I don't like hearing that you're like going out alone. I only have one daughter that does that. And she's like, thinks it's okay until it's not. But so this being taken advantage of can also happen through financial advisors. So tell me what precautions that these women that are just learning, they might be lonely because they've lost their husband too. That's a big one, right? So they're widowed and now they're learning something new, which is how to manage money. And they come from old school, meaning you just think that somebody that is a financial advisor or has some letters behind their name, that everything is safe. And this is a whole new world that we're entering. So what could you tell those to look for in a financial advising?
Yeah, it's interesting that we're talking right now because I had talked to a woman a couple of hours ago, and she's contemplating retirement, and she just sold her mother's house and she has this pool of money. And so she said, my husband heard this guy on the radio. So I went to talk to him, and he told me that, he was going to put my money in two companies, and they were both insurance companies, which, insurance companies tend to be annuities, and which that is not always the best for the individual because it often has very high expenses and upfront load that the financial person will gain. And she was like, I don't even know these companies. I knew them. They're not necessarily bad companies, but they're insurance companies. So that's not necessarily an investment. And she thought because he was on the radio, he was reputable.
Yeah.
Anybody can buy radio time. You just have to pay the bill. So it isn't so much of a credibility issue that it might have been 30 years ago. So you want to make sure that the person's reputable. So I actually went to this person's website, and they had the Better Business Bureau logo on there. And what people often don't realize is you pay to be in the Better Business Bureau. It's not something that's given to you. It's not like you got this award or that it gives you credibility. It's something you paid for. And I feel like that's very deceptive and people don't understand it. Other thing, looking at this website, there was no small print. So usually I look for the small print that says this is a broker, because you have to have broker check. There was no broker check. If you're not a broker, you're going to have what's called an ADV, your annual disclosure, which you can find on our website, and it's down at the bottom. There's none of that either. I can't find where he invests through. Like, those are red flags. But so people have to dig a little bit deeper. I don't always necessarily say just ask your friends, because think about all Bernie Madoff's friends. They all got taken. These were very bright business people. You know, people often will think they can take advice from movie stars and stuff. They're no smarter.
Oh, yeah.
They often do groupthink. So you really have to be very careful about all these things. And you want to always ask, how do you get paid? Are you a fiduciary? Like, are you working legally in my best behalf? That word is getting overused right now, and people are not using it necessarily in the best way, but you want to make sure that person's working in your best behalf, not on their best behalf. And you want how it's paid and what fees. Am I going to have continued fees if I do this? You sell me a product. You know, nowadays you don't need to have products. You can go into mutual funds, exchange traded funds. You want to be leery of why you might buy an insurance related product. We have some new clients that are 27. They're in annuities. No 27-year-old should be in an annuity. Somebody who's older who might want a steady stream of income and they know it's predictable and it gives them some peace of mind, that might be okay. But they also have to remember, if all their money's tied up in that annuity and they need a new car, you know, then the chances are they're not getting a bigger chunk of money out. But no, 27-year-old.
Without a big fee.
Right.
Or penalty.
Yeah. I mean, this young 27-year-old, there's a 7-year surrender period. Right. These are things that people need to ask about.
So what's one of the first things that a widow should do? So she's lost her husband. She doesn't really know where to begin, and he didn't take the time to explain everything to her.
So she wants to go to a trusted advisor. So if there's a family member that can help navigate her there. So, you know, you're definitely going to want to start with the estate planning attorney. Was there documents in place that will dictate how things happen? Ideally, there's a financial advisor already in the picture. You know, we had the situation a couple of years ago, and I got a call from a daughter saying, Mom needs you. Dad just died this morning. He was 57 years old. And it's like, where do you go? So you're going to need your CPA as well. So having your trusted team in place before you need it is really important. I often put clergy in that category as well. Somebody you can turn to that can help you sort through things. During this period, you need a second set of eyes and ears because you are in total grief fog and you're not even going to remember what you heard. So I also recommend having a notebook. You carry a notebook with you and you write down what was said to you, because you can go back and look at it and you'll be like, oh, that's what that meant. And that second set of ears and eyes can also help you with that. And it, you know, depending on what age, could be a child. So you want to, you know, who do you engage in that process? Those are some of the immediate, after you take care of, like, okay, we have to bury, you know, have the final goodbye to this person. That's usually pretty immediate. And then you got to look at your cash flow. Like, do you have cash? Do you have access to cash? And we've seen people where, you know, the spouse wasn't working and the husband's paycheck was going direct deposited into an account that was only in his name. That's frozen. You can't get at it. So you want to make sure your bank accounts are jointly owned ahead of time. There's so much you want to do ahead of time. You know, we call it curveball life planning, to make sure you're buttoned up at the time. Because if you can't have access to cash, oh, it's a really tough. So there's lots of different things. And then you want to look to say, okay, what absolutely has to be taken care of first? Cash flow, but there might be something else. Was there a life insurance policy? You want to apply for that as soon as possible. I come across some situations that can be extremely emotional for some women. You know, we had one woman who couldn't cash it because she said, well, if I cashed it, it meant he was really gone. So sometimes, you know, as advisors, we have to think, okay, we have to meet the person where they are, and all those emotions, like writing the thank you notes, were really hard for that woman again, because it means he's really gone. So it's a gentle push and pull sometimes to get things done the right way. And again, we had a situation where we had two clients pass away at the same time. One wife wanted to handle life insurance herself. The other one let us do it. We got her a check within 4 weeks. We worked with her insurance person. The other woman, it was 6 months and she still didn't have it because she didn't ask for the help. And we could have gotten it done with her so much faster.
And some of them can be a real pain.
Yes.
With my experience. Wow. And especially if they never answer their phone.
Ah,
I won't mention names, but once I had this particular experience, mentioning it to others led to hearing that, yeah, they had the same experience. And then, which led me to go online and realize there were just all these really bad reviews for this particular insurance company. So let me ask you this about life insurance. Do you sell life insurance? I'm assuming yes.
no, not necessarily.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
Yeah, we more trying to just make sure everything's in place for the person, but we don't necessarily sell products.
okay. I was going to ask if you suggest term over whole and all of that.
Yeah, typically we suggest term because you need it for a period of time in your life, especially if you have kids, you have mortgages. Whole life insurance is very expensive and it's often sold as an investment. Insurance is not an investment. Insurance is there as a backstop to like protect you if income goes away. There are reasons if you're a business owner, and you're doing a buy sell on your business partner, that's kind of a different story. But your average family of three, two spouses, they may not need a whole life policy, and you don't necessarily need it to leave to the child. When your child turns 18, people sell it for children to whole life policies. We don't necessarily believe that, but you want to make sure you're protected up through your retirement, and that like the times when you have the most bills. One of the things I'll say, we're delaying having our families so much longer. So when you start having your first child at 35, 36, 37, you then have to think you're going out almost 25, 30 years at that point, as opposed to, people often had their kids in their early 20s and they were done having kids in their 50s. Now people are sending their kids to college late 50s, 60s. It changes your financial picture quite a bit. And when you need to have insurances and different things in place. And the other hard part is you're bumping up against that discussion around long-term care as well. So, as people delay having families, you're going to come up against paying for college, thinking about your own retirement, and thinking about your long-term care. Those are three very expensive periods of life. Yeah, you want to make sure you're planning, well in advance for that.
I don't know much about long-term care. Do you want to delve into that just a little bit?
So
a person in their 50s think about getting long-term care, and when and where do they go to get it?
Yeah, I would say early 50s, probably not. Mid 50s, start having the conversation. By late 50s, to early 60s, you probably want to start to think about whether it's going to make sense for you. So you're basically going to say, I think at some point in my life, I'm going to need extraordinary care, which might mean someone who's coming into your house to take care of you, or you need to go live in a facility, an assisted living, a nursing home, and it's so expensive. Here in the Northeast, you're easily looking at rates from $7,000 to $18,000.
For a minute there, I was like, that's actually not bad.
No, sorry, but it wouldn't be bad. But you're also looking at, the quality difference could be dramatic. And if you wouldn't want your cat or dog to live somewhere, you don't want to put a loved one there. So the tough part is it's a very expensive product. And so a lot of people really can't afford it. So you can think about, do I want to share the responsibility with an insurance company? So, all right, if let's just say the cost of daily care is $400, I'll pay $200 and I'll get a policy that will cover $200. And you want to make sure you have a rider that keeps up with inflation, because if you didn't, like right now, the inflation we're seeing, your purchasing power would be much less. So some people really want to have it. I find a lot of single women who don't want to be a burden to their children is a big deal. Women who tend to outlive men. So women tend to want the product more than men do, because men are like, my wife will take care of me.
Yeah.
And the woman's like, who's going to take care of me? So it's a very full discussion. We talked about it with some clients recently, and they said, we're going to, what we call self-insure. We're going to roll the dice. We think we have enough assets that'll be okay. And usually it's the hard part. If you really don't have a lot of assets, you're going to end up, the government's going to pay for your care. If you're sort of in that 500 to 2 million range, that's where you may not have enough to live. You want to look at it. If you're above 2 million, depending on your lifestyle, you could probably self-insure. But it's a lot of discussion and a lot of thought.
Yeah. And I think working with someone like yourself brings up things that you didn't even know were there. Right. So, which could lead to more questions, which could lead to a lot of benefits later. I mean, a lot. I mean, because I want to live in a nice place if I have to be taken care of in my 80s and 90s. And I don't even want to think about what that's going to cost. Okay, so I'm going to put in the show notes where people could go to learn more. You had mentioned there was somewhere they could go, and I'll put that in the show notes as well, to get the 28 pieces of
28 documents.
the 28 documents. There's a lot there, and you only mentioned a few. So I'm going to suggest everyone go to those documents because I know there's a lot more really good stuff just from having deaths in my family and just learning from that, learning the hard way, really.
Yeah. It's
So
not fun that way either, is it?
no, it's not. And I don't want, my kids to have to go through that. So I'll put in the show notes where to go. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
The most important thing is to be aware. I see too many women just sort of put their fingers in their ears and like, la, la, everything's fine. My credit card works. Leave me alone. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, it's inevitable. We're all going to die at some point. It's a matter of when. So just because we talk about it and prepare for it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But like you said, you don't want your daughters to go through what you've gone through. And anyone who's gone through the loss of a loved one that wasn't buttoned up knows the pain. And, I don't think most of us hate our loved ones and don't want to inflict that kind of pain on someone. It's really a huge gift to give them the gift of preparedness.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today. And everyone, just listen to what she says and let this be a time that you either go deeper in what you don't know or just start taking action if you're in your 50s, right? Start taking action. And I really liked the catch-up contribution and maxing out on that. That was a good one.
Thank you, Crystal. I really appreciate the conversation.
Thank you.